this Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to News and Views with me, Aisha Kaji. The question we're interrogating now is 30 years into democracy, is South Africa growing more politically tolerant, or is there still work to be done to nurture our fledgling democracy? My guest to explore this, unfortunately not on video but on audio, is Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, Director of the Center for Security, Peace and Conflict Resolution, Nelson Mandela University. Good morning to you, Dr. Breakfast. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm in the self.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. So tell us, why this question? Why now, as we are running up to elections? How are we doing as a country when it comes to political tolerance?
I so wish that I can say so far so good, but unfortunately, I think there are some national concerns due to some statements that have been made of late. Also seeing whether rightly or wrongfully so, the DA also writing a letter to this country and to that country, raising some concerns.
Yes.
But there have been some unfortunate statements by leaders of the MK, Umkhonto weSizwe, that their way or the highway, if, for instance, Msholozi doesn't become the embodiment of the party or the image of the party, if it doesn't appear on the ballot paper, hell will break loose. But my view is that, in as much as that is wrong, and that must be noted.
Absolutely, yes.
But I think we need to weigh problems. There is no democracy which is perfect, and there is no election which is perfect. Even the so-called matured democracies, they've got moments of madness. I think the most contested election that we've ever had was the 1994 one. And I'm sure, you are old enough to have been around.
Yes. I was actually an election observer for the IEC in 94.
I see, you see. There were also elections. There were pockets of violence. But those elections were declared as free and fair. The IFP entered the political scene at the 11th hour after, there were some incidents of violence. So I'm saying, for instance, does it mean that if, let's say, at the polling station, 5 ballot papers cannot be accounted for, that, those results must be rejected? Of course not. So what I'm saying, we've got to weigh problems. I think the IEC is capable of managing our elections, even though there are some concerns. I don't think that we need assistance unless we are playing the card before the horse. So yes, the IEC, they have to hold certain political parties accountable, bring them to the electoral court if needs be, and then they must be disciplined. But I think as political analysts, we must be responsible and not instill fears in people, even though there is no need for that.
I totally agree with you, Professor Breakfast. You made glancing reference to the fact that a certain political party has gone and pleaded with countries in the West to send observers to our elections. Now, while I think it is very important for any election anywhere in the world to have independent election observers, including international ones, and I've played that role myself in several elections in other countries. And so I know what a valuable role it can be, particularly for the voters of that country. On the other hand, I don't think it is the place of a political party to actually go and plead with certain countries specifically to send us election observers. Was that what you were making reference to earlier?
Yes, as I indicated, I wasn't talking about the rightness or the wrongness of that, but I was just saying that there are national concerns. Of course, I think the DA was playing some politics there. Yeah, I think they are playing some politics there. Because if you pick and choose, for instance, America, France, Germany, It
Mm-hmm.
begs the question: Why not Ghana, for instance? Why not
Absolutely.
Kenya? You know what I mean? So there are some political dynamics there. Um, I just think that they should give the IEC space to do their job, if needs be. When the IEC fails, then I think people can come into the picture in terms of making a noise and going around the world, maybe and ask maybe other countries to
Mm-hmm.
assist. But I think they were just playing the card there
Yes,
before the whole
yes. As I said, I think we do need independent observers, including from outside the country. But to be playing this kind of politics, well, it's not uncommon, of course, in the run up to elections,
Mm,
in party
mm,
politics. But in terms of growing more political pluralism on the one hand, but
mm.
also growing more political tolerance on the other, what kind of work is still to be done in order to nurture this kind of tolerance and strengthen what is still a fledgling democracy, a baby democracy in terms of democratic growth.
Well, democracy, I mean, is always work in progress. I think in pursuit of democratic consolidation, I think we need to strengthen our control measures. I spoke about the role of the IEC, the role of the
Hmm.
electoral court, holding
Yes.
political parties accountable, making them to sign off, a declaration, and making them to honor those commitments, and making sure that the threats are intercepted, eliminated. People
Hmm.
who are posing these threats are held responsible. You can't like make a statement like hell will break loose or the elections will not be free and fair, and then you're not held accountable after that. I mean that is not
Yes,
right.
yes. So
So
you're
so
saying
so so, so
basically we've got good institutions, let's use them and let's hold political parties to account and the government
I
to account.
agree, and I don't think that there is a need for new political reforms. I think the ones that we have, the institutions that we have, are enough. You know,
Mhm. We
yeah.
just need to make sure that the laws are implemented and the institutions do their jobs.
Precisely. Can I just make one statement? For instance, if you look at
Please.
the Constitution, Section 16 of the Constitution
Mhm.
makes a provision to the right to freedom of expression. But then
Absolutely.
other subsections, they lay bare what is not allowed, posing
Mm,
threats of violence, making statements that are discriminatory, racism, and so on. So I think
mhm.
that section, it needs to be implemented. People cannot just propagate ideas of violence and they are allowed to get away with murder.
Mhm. So, in on that note, you're talking to a former director of the Freedom of Expression Institute. So I was
Yeah.
smiling while you were bringing up Section 16. But on
Mm,
that note, when political formations, whether they are parties that are contesting the next elections or not for whatever
mm,
reason, when they make these threats of violence,
mm,
sometimes veiled threats, sometimes overt
mm,
ones, um, what should we know what our institutions should do,
yes,
our official institutions. We
yes,
also know what civil society institutions,
yes,
in
yes,
theory,
yes,
should be doing. What
yes.
should citizens of the country, the listeners listening to us now on Salam Media, what should we
So, of
as
course, I
individual
mean,
listeners be doing?
I'm sorry, but I wasn't trying to speak over you. But democracy cannot be strengthened or deepened by political parties alone. Democracy, belongs to all the citizens. And I think also it is irresponsible of us not to participate in the public affairs in our democracy, because by so doing, I think we will give politicians a blank check to get away with murder, to do as they please. So we have a responsibility as well to make a noise. Civil
Mhm,
society, the media is part of a civil society. People must participate, in radio stations. People must write letters to newspapers. People must
mhm.
make a noise, attend meetings, engage. That's how you strengthen a democracy, as opposed to taking a back seat that, it's their thing.
Thank you so much, Professor Breakfast. You put it in
Not at all.
words that I was actually hoping you would, that we each have a responsibility as citizens of a democracy to make some noise when that democracy does not function the way we envisage it should. So, Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast from Nelson Mandela University, thank you so much for being with us this morning. You've given us some real insights into how the system of political tolerance is not really perfect yet in South Africa, and how we as citizens can be making that difference by standing up, making some noise, writing to the media, play, taking the power of your vote into your hands, and rather than being apathetic and sitting back and saying, oh, well, the system is corrupt or the politicians do X, Y, and Z. Let's actually work together to make the democracy of South Africa work. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Professor.
very much and all the best.
Thank you. And to you as well. Take care. With that, we wrap up this morning's show pretty much, except for our regular feature, Fired Up with Ashraf Gangrika, which we're coming to after this ad break.